Well, we are getting ready to start our first official essay. In college, you're going to encounter a wide number of things that you're going to have to do. Before you launch into any particular assignment, you should stop and think to yourself, why am I doing this? What is the purpose? What am I supposed to get out of this? Whether it's a reading assignment or a writing assignment or whatever, try to understand what you're supposed to be gaining from this exercise. When you sit down to read, and that's not just in college, anytime you sit down to read something, you should be aware of why you're reading it. Sometimes we read for entertainment, we just read for enjoyment. That's great. We actually get more out of that than we do out of any other form of reading because we really do focus in on it. But when you're reading, you should be a critical thinker. You should be an active, engaged reader, which means that while you're reading, you don't just turn into what I call the mechanical reader. I am reading this assignment which is telling me about how to be a good reader, and to be a good reader one must do, and it just turns into nothing. After a while, you realize you've been reading for pages and you have no idea what you were reading. But you were reading. You were reading the letters on the page. You could have been even reading out loud and probably mouthing the words, but it just meant nothing to you. What you need to do is make sure that you get something out of this, that the time you spend reading accomplishes something. For the most part, teachers do not assign these things to you just as busy work, although I have seen teachers who do that. The vast majority of us do not. We're giving it to you because there is something to be gained from it. Like these homework assignments you're doing right now, I'm giving you those questions to guide you towards what I think are the most important aspects of that chapter. There's a lot of stuff in that chapter that you could really skip and not read, but it's hard for me to say, okay, read this page, but don't read that page. Read this paragraph, but don't read that paragraph. It's easier for me to give those questions to make sure that you focused in on what's important. So, anyways, I'm saying what you do is you want to look at the assignment, give yourself an idea of what's it asking, what seems to be the big focus, what are you studying currently in the classroom, so that you can have some ideas to what it is your teacher wants you to gain from it. The same thing happens when you sit down to write. And when you write, I want you to think about what I call the FATP. Hey, there it is, the FATP. With FATP, let me get us started here. Oh, shush up. Okay, FATP. I first discovered FATP, oh my gosh, almost 30 years ago. Whoa. When I was teaching middle school, which lasted all of 2 years, the middle schools used to have something called the middle school assessments. I think they still have something similar to that. But in the days I was there, they had to write an essay as part of that assessment. And part of that assessment included the FATP, which meant that the student had to identify the format, the audience, the topic, and the purpose for their essay. Now, unfortunately, what happened was teachers were teaching the students they had to do it in the following manner. I am writing this essay to my teacher to tell her about a time when... We don't write like that. So students would spend 3 years learning to write like that, then we go to high school, which I worked there for 11 years, and I would have to break them of the habit. I'd get them in 9th grade and have to explain to them, I don't want to see that. That is not a topic sentence. That is just an annoyance. We're going to stop doing that. But the concept is still sound. You should still think about, when you sit down to write, what is the format of what I'm going to write, which basically is the style. Who is my audience? What do they need to know? What is my topic, which is your reason for writing it to begin with, and your purpose, what are you trying to accomplish? So let's go through this one at a time. Form or format, it's the genre, it's the style. If you're writing a letter to someone, it starts off, dear so-and-so, how are you today, blah, 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 blah. Ends with a salutation. That salutation is the beginning. It ends with sincerely yours, or see you later, or something like that, and you sign it. You look at it and you can clearly see this is a letter. A poem. Poems have formats to them. There's different versions. There's sonnets. There's odes. There's all kinds of different. There's limericks. There's all sorts of different types of ways to write a poem. You look at it, you know it's a poem. Hey, look, it rhymes. It must be a poem. Fairy tale. Once upon a time. Ah, a fairy tale. Do you realize Star Wars is a fairy tale? Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So, there is a style to everything that you write. So if you're sitting down writing a newspaper article, you know how that should be done. Audience is very important. This is the person or people that's going to be reading what you write. Now, in college, your audience is going to be your college professor. But regardless of that, you should always stop and think, what is the background knowledge that my audience has before I start writing? Like your first assignment today you're going to get this later, is going to explain to you that I am your audience. I've already read the article you're going to analyze. So, you don't have to tell me all these details about the article. You just have to remind me which article you read, and then start telling me what you learned about from it. So, what you learned about from it. Boy, there's a lot of... Oh, that was a terrible sentence. Anyway, so, you know your professor is familiar with certain things. You don't have to go explaining certain terminology and defining certain things because you know that your teacher already knows that. However, on the other hand, your teacher gives you these assignments to see what you've learned and what you know. So there's this delicate balance of where do I assume is the right place to start. You're always safe assuming that your reader knows nothing. Okay? That way, whoever picks it up will always understand what you're talking about. The danger with that, though, is that you can insult your readers. So if you're writing like Dr. Seuss stories to a 4-year-old, yeah, you're going to have to talk a very simplistic language. If you're writing to your peers in, say, high school or first couple years of college, you're not going to write that simplistic. You're writing to your teacher, right? You're writing to your biology. Say you're in the nursing program and you're in the anatomy class. You know that your anatomy teacher knows the difference between bones and muscles. You don't have to explain that. However, your teacher may want to know the difference about different kinds of muscles from you to show that you have learned what that is. Right? So, that's audience. Topic. Topic is the main idea. This is your topic sentence, your thesis. It's your purpose. This is the one thing you want your reader to get out of all of this. You introduce your essay by saying, I'm going to talk to you about this. By the time you get to your conclusion, you're saying, and this is what you should know about this. And everything in between is backing up and providing evidence so that people will believe what you're saying. And finally, your purpose, which a lot of people confuse with topic. Purpose is, am I trying to inform my reader? So inform is, I'm just telling you some basic facts, like the news. Today this happened, and the following people were involved, and it happened here, and at this time. Okay? So, you're just basically delivering facts. An information essay, an information research essay is just, hey, I did some research and here's what I found. Explanation, which you will be doing one of these later this semester, it's also known as the argument. Well, actually, I take that back. Sorry. It's not the argument. The explanation essay is, and we're not going to be doing one of these, an explanation essay is where you're explaining how something works. You're telling somebody how to bake a cake. You're explaining to them how to build a bookshelf. Or you're trying to explain to them how DNA reproduces. You see? So you're explaining, you're telling a process. You're describing in a certain degree. Persuasion, that's the one you're going to be doing later this semester. In a persuasion essay, you're trying to convince somebody. You're talking about something that doesn't have easy answers to it. Should you put your hand on a hot stove? No. There's no need to persuade anybody about that. Don't do it. It's stupid. But is gas or electric better for cooking? That's something that you need to discuss, debate, and persuade somebody on as to which one you think is the best way to go. Exploring is just what it sounds like. You're playing with ideas. This is usually the generation start where you're sitting down and getting some ideas. You're slapping some stuff around on the paper and see where it goes. Engineers, designers, people like that do a lot of exploration. It's usually you're sticking things down and see what works. Often though, exploration is used in a formal sense and they're used as proposals. hey boss, here's something we could do, or we could do this. Here's some ideas of what we might want to do in the future. And finally, there's entertainment, where we are trying to literally have our audience enjoy and have fun with what we're reading. So, or we're writing, sorry. So, also understand that of these five, they can all be combined in different groups. You almost never write anything without some level of informing. What you have to stop and think about, though, is what is the primary purpose. My primary purpose here is to persuade. My primary purpose is to inform. There's going to be some level of the others that creep in there, especially depending on your writing style. But you have to stop and think, what's the main thing I'm trying to accomplish here? Okay. So, these are the things you need to think about when you first start writing. Now, another thing that I want you to think about, let's go back to the FATP for a moment and think about your audience. Again, I know this sounds like, okay, that's so obvious. Why are you beating this to death? Well, I want to show you an example of a problem with audience writing, that this person did not think about her audience when she was really writing this. She just thought about the assignment. So this was actually published in a writing textbook, where the person who put this textbook together thought, this is an awesome example of description. I think it's a crappy example of description, because this person really didn't think about the audience. This person thought, well, I'm familiar with this. I know what all this stuff is. But does her audience know? Permanent Tracings is the name of it. Basically, she's doing a description of a tattoo parlor or a tattoo shop. Stop and think if you can really picture yourself here. At first glance, the Living Color Tattoo Parlor appears to be just another typical tattoo establishment. You enter through a glass door only to find a waiting room with the decor reminiscent of the 1970s. The dark paneled walls display numerous types of artwork that range from pencil sketching to color Polaroid snapshots of newly completed tattoos. The golden green Davenport looks as if it came from a Saturday morning garage sale. The inner office is celery green with a dental chair and an obstetrics table that the owner bartered for a tattoo. The stirrups are still in the drawer. A filing cabinet, desk, and copy machine make you feel as if you're in a professional office. The sterilizer is in plain sight and is in operation. Bottle after bottle of brightly colored inks are neatly arranged on a tiered wooden stand. The sound of the oscillating fan that cools the client interrupts the buzz of this needle sewing the paint into the client's skin. A freeze-dried turtle is displayed on a table in the office. I still wondered, though, could tattoos actually be a form of art? Where do I begin? Okay, the person who wrote this is probably much older than you guys are, practically probably my age. And of course, she wrote this for a teacher, and of course that teacher's older than she is. So to the two of them, this all makes perfect sense. To anybody younger, it doesn't. There's a lot of things, a lot of details that start losing you. One of the major problems here too is this person's listening. I walked into the room and I saw this, then I saw that, then there's that over there, and then there's this over here. But what if you've never seen a Davenport before? Alright, it's golden green. So what? What is a Davenport? Is it a type of window? What is this thing? I don't know. You have no way to picture it. She has given you no real description. She gave you colors. Whoop-de-doo. What shape is it? Where is it in the room? What's the whole point to this thing? Why do we care? You have to think about these things. So now I'm going to tear it apart and show you some real problems with it. Before I move on, though, her topic sentence. I still wondered, though, could tattoos actually be a form of art? Oh, that's a bad idea. The purpose of this was just to do a description. She was just supposed to describe the place. So, if that's the case, why is she asking this question? The minute you ask a question like this, it draws the reader's attention, and the reader's going to be looking for an answer. So throughout the rest of this piece, which goes on for 3 pages, the reader is going to be looking for an answer. Are tattoos a form of art? She never answers it.